So wait, this is not a bomb.
Right.
Okay, good, good. So yours is unique in the class. You're not solving exactly the same problem that everyone else is. Why don't you tell us about what yours is meant to be doing and what it actually does, and what you wish it did better.
Alright. Well, I wish it did everything better, first of all. But this was my first project, actually building everything from scratch. But basically what it is my hobby is photography, and I do a lot of panoramic photography. Like I got 2 examples over there that I just got printed. So basically what the problem is like if I go somewhere, I'll take a photo and realize, oh man, the entire center is gone because I forgot to go to that one chunk. So the whole idea of this was I could put in an angle, degree of rotation. It would step and fire the camera and everything within those the pan and then the tilt as well.
Okay. So it's basically like an expensive pan tilt unit, homemade.
Yes, pretty much. Like I looked online, the cheapest one I could find was about $600, and this thing didn't even come close to that total.
So what goes into this?
All right. Well, there's an LCD that displays the information and everything. I'll turn it on here in a second.
Okay.
But there's an LCD that displays the basic information. The keypad that's supposed to allow the user to input angle, select the menu item.
Is this a homemade fiberglass case?
Yes.
Okay.
Fiberglass? No, it's plexiglass.
Plexiglass.
Acrylic. Tomato,
Okay.
tomato. Potato. There's a GPS receiver on it so they can record the latitude and longitude so the images can be geotagged.
Okay.
And it can also use the bearing from it so you can figure out, okay, I need to turn this way, this way, this way.
Okay.
There's an SD card so it can record the said GPS locations. There's a
Now, did you have a kit that came, like I know they sell a GPS that comes with a board automatically made up for an SD card, but it looks like you've got an SD card right
yes,
here.
I actually pieced it together myself to get better reliability.
Okay.
Like the GPS shield, I actually kind of made myself. Just soldered the GPS unit to PC board.
Okay.
Put the pull down resistors on there and everything, and tap them together on the back.
So this is a battery here.
Where?
Is
Yes,
that a battery?
That's the backup battery, so that once it gets a signal, its crystal inside can keep track of the proper time.
Okay.
And it can lock on like that pretty much when it goes
Okay.
back
So
outside.
this is a battery that runs the.
That runs the entire setup right
Okay.
now. That's
Now,
just
do you want to? You put it in a power saving mode at some point or something? Is that the idea?
Whenever the battery pack is off, everything is off.
Okay.
The GPS is getting its backup power from the battery itself.
All right. What's the purpose of the backup battery? The backup though, like the whole thing is off, but the GPS can still run. Is that the
Right.
idea?
Well, it keeps the clock running
Okay.
so that it can do what's known as a warm fix
Okay.
rather than a cold fix. Because a cold fix can take up to 5 minutes to get a proper
Yeah, yeah,
fix.
yeah.
Warm can take
So we're talking about like satellite fixes.
Right.
Yeah.
the actual GPS location and everything.
Yeah.
By having that battery, it makes it down to like a couple seconds and it can get a lock.
Okay. So what's the notion here? Like if it were working perfectly, now what we haven't seen is
I'll go ahead and
the motor, right?
actually, right in the center, right in there, is the servo that controls everything.
Okay.
And someone is getting a phone call.
Okay.
And the servo is just mounted directly to the base plate,
Okay.
and with a large surface area mount on there too.
Right.
This bracket I made myself, with help of Josh to print it and everything.
Okay.
That allows for a.
So it's a 3D printed bracket.
Yep.
All right.
So that allows for the servo mount to go in there, and a 1/4 of an inch by 20 thread nut so they can attach to a tripod on there.
Now initially you were thinking of using a stepper motor,
Right.
right? What made you change your mind?
Weight and heat mainly.
Okay.
And plus I found these servos that have a hold weight of 6.4 kilograms.
Right.
So I figured that would probably.
Are they accurate enough for you though? Because like the reason to do a stepper motor is so you get more accurate motion.
If I redo it and actually go further into it, I might go with stepper motors so I can find smaller ones that have the torque and everything I would like.
Okay.
But
All right. So the function of this was intended to be what? And then we'll talk about what actually works and what doesn't work.
the actual intended function was to allow myself to program in, I want a pan of 180 degrees from point zero, so it goes 90 this way, 90 that way.
Mm-hmm.
And every time it stops at a certain point, it takes a photo.
Okay.
So it actually has a cable that can go into my camera to trigger it, so that once it stops, it triggers it, then pans again, triggers it.
Okay.
So
How hard is it to trigger a camera? Is it
Not
just
that hard
like
at all,
a,
it's
a simple signal?
Right, you just keep the logic pins on high.
Okay.
Whenever you want to trigger it, you drop them to low.
Okay.
So you just basically ground it.
All right. All right.
So that was pretty simple on that part.
What was going to be on the display?
The display actually shows, depending on the mode, it'll show enter like time for a time lapse. If you position it for object tracking, it will track the object. Like if it's for like astrophotography, it can track the star field at the proper degree of rotation with the Earth.
Okay.
And panoramic, you can just program, the sweep, the tilt. I didn't put tilt on because I decided I didn't have the know-how to fabricate that part. I was afraid of dropping my $1,000 camera. So I'll just go with pan right now.
Let's get a weight that looks like a camera,
Yeah.
and then we'll try that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
All right. So what's not working right now?
Pretty much all of it.
Okay. So if you could,
it'll turn on.
all right.
The menus and everything, when I was working on it, I spent way too much time on getting the GPS and SD cards to work. The servo I had working in no time to, it was getting the different pieces to work together and then putting them in one big pile.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest problem I had was this daggone keypad, because in the loop function of the Arduino, it just keeps on looping.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to get information to go into it properly.
Now,
And then have sub loops and everything within it.
now I expect to see like some resistors in between the buttons and the
It's
input.
actually internally debalanced.
Is it? Okay.
Yes. Because I thought the same thing, and I started reading online. So, oh, okay.
Okay.
On my previous project, keypad was
Yeah.
one of the things that I spent a lot of time for.
Yeah.
Maybe like a fifth of the project.
Yeah. Okay. So what can you show us?
Well, there's not really much inside because it needs to go outside to get a GPS lock.
Yeah.
But like it's booting up right now.
So this is the SD card reader. It's like a mini SD card.
Yeah, it's micro SD.
Micro. Okay.
Alright. And well, let me turn it back off and on again. So like
And
this
then
is
that is the GPS unit,
Yes.
and it should have a light blinking.
this one does not.
It does not have a
No.
light. Well, that is not convenient.
Well, actually, I fixed that in software.
Okay. Okay.
So like when you switch it on, turning on, initializing, SD failed because there's not a card in there.
Okay.
Well, there's a card in there, so that's a little weird. But, autopods like menu 1 through X.
Okay.
It's like one, like that'll actually start focusing the camera. That will actually trip the shutter and open
Okay.
it.
Okay.
That was to enter the time delay. See, that's what I was talking about. It's in an infinite loop right now, so it won't let me input anything.
Okay.
Or there went to the GPS menu. No GPS lock.
Okay.
But if you take it outside, give it a few seconds, it'll actually start printing the latitude and longitude.
Yeah.
And time and date.
My memory's a little bit fuzzy on here. Your infinite loop lock problem is really familiar to me. I don't remember right off the top of my head what the solution is, but I know there is one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a learning process.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we take it outside, it'll tell us something about GPS potentially.
Right. Give it
Okay.
a second, and it'll actually get the GPS lock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll take it outside then.
All right.
All right. Good work.